couple days ago on my YouTube community tab, I asked you guys what are some of Fortnite's best mythics of all time. And although all mythics are meant to be strong, not all mythics are created equally. And so today we're going to focus in on some of Fortnite's best mythics of all time, those weapons that you just have to get your hand on. They give you a guaranteed win. I do want to give an honorable mention before we get into this video to the Infinity Blade, Thanos' Infinity Gauntlet, and all the Avenger LTM specific mythics. These mythics, except for the Infinity Blade, were all designed to be very strong, and they were all strong within their own LTM. So I'm going to keep them together, and I'm going to give them an honorable mention here because they are very strong, but I'm focusing more so on the ones just in Battle Royale. So with all that being said, let's get right into it. Right off the bat, I think that the best Fortnite mythic of all time is the Foundation's MK7 Assault Rifle. To me, simply put it, this is the best mythic of all time, and I'll give you a couple reasons why. For one, the recoil is unreal. There is literally none. It is just a slight vertical bounce. There is almost no recoil for a weapon that is, I believe, to be the fastest firing assault rifle of all time. It has to be. Two, it has a red dot. It's a first person weapon, right? And so for me, I have always found myself shooting better, clearer, and just, I don't know, I just find it easier to shoot and aim with weapons that have a red dot or a scope rather than just the normal Fortnite third-person aiming mechanic how it always used to be. Also, the damage is just unreal, and combine the fastest firing assault rifle with some of the higher damage we've seen is just unreal, and this weapon, I believe the DPS was something unreal, like 250 or 260 damage. Again, this weapon was also hit scan, right? So you're talking about an assault rifle with no recoil, fast fire rate, good damage, and could literally beam from 100 plus meters away. It was unreal, and the gameplay should honestly just speak for itself. It is, in my opinion, the best mythic item of all time. Next, let's keep talking about ARs, and let's talk about the Herald's Evochrome Burst Assault Rifle from Chapter 3, Season 4, I believe. This is just another one of those broken assault rifles, but this one was broken for a little bit of a different reason than the MK7. Herald's was a 4-round burst assault rifle, and this weapon's real claim to fame came from the damage to structures. I don't know if you guys know this, but this thing would absolutely shred through builds. Like, it would almost just evaporate builds. Like, if all 4 shots hit the build, it was just gone. Your bullets would oftentimes just leak through builds, right? So if someone was just standing there holding a wall, they were not safe from this weapon. Combine this with first shot accuracy, 4 bullets that had very little bloom. I really do remember this weapon being one of the strongest weapons when I used it. It was, again, one of those weapons that you had to just get your hands on, and you were basically gifted a win. It was that strong. Again, this was at a time when mythics were only 1 on the map. You know, now we see sometimes there's 2, 3, 4, 5 mythics. We'll see that with some of the other entries on this list, but for this, there was just 1 Herald's Chrome Burst Assault Rifle on the entire map at a time. It was unbelievably strong, and to me, one of the best mythics of all time. Next, let's just go a couple short weeks back in time, and let's talk about Avatar's Waterbending mythic. There were a couple things that made this mythic very good. One, it was extremely accessible. It felt like this mythic was legitimately everywhere. This is an example of one of those items or mythic items that was just all over the place. It wasn't like that there was just 1 on the map. Also, this mythic had unlimited ammo. I don't really think I need to explain what waterbending is. I mean, it was just in the game so recently. The thing with waterbending is you had a weapon that was basically hit scan. I mean, let's just say it. Like, if your crosshairs were on the target, they were hitting, and it was a 3-round burst, I believe. Yeah, so it had 30, and then it was a 3-round burst. And that burst was almost instant. There was essentially no delay between, one, the bullets coming out of the gun, and then the delay between bursts, right? So I think, and I know people were saying this at the time it was out, waterbending is definitely one of the strongest mythics of all time. I mean, this thing was like, it's like some of these weapons I can't even explain how strong they were. What I will say is I think waterbending, to be good with it, required a lot more skill than some of the other mythics we'll see on this list, but regardless, it was still that strong. Let's talk about a weapon that I had previously touched on in my overpowered weapons video. If you haven't seen that, go check that one out, but that is the Overclocked Pulse Rifle from Chapter 4, Season 2. This is one of those weapons that if you wanted to come to me and tell me that this was the best mythic of all time, I would not knock you for it. I think you would be in reason reason for saying that. The only other assault rifle, in my opinion, that could counter the Foundation's Mythic MK's fire rate would be the Overclocked Pulse Rifle's hipfire fire rate. Here you had a rifle that was doing SCAR type damage with infinite first shot accuracy. Like, you're talking about a weapon here that you guys know how the Thunderburst works, right? When you have the hipfire mod, the laser that just makes it like there's no bloom. It was like that, but every single time you aim down sights with a rifle that was doing SCAR damage. There were also just plenty of these around the map at a time. Like, I vividly remember being in Chapter 4, Season 2, and someone shooting me with this thing. I said, I'm gonna lose. Like, I'm literally just, I don't stand a chance. If you build a box, just hip fire, just spray into it, your bullets will leak through. It was that strong. And you'll see in the gameplay, like, there's no bloom or anything. It's just infinite one-shot accuracy. Like, you're gonna shoot people from 80, 90, 100 meters, and there's no fall off. It was just unreal. And again, one of those weapons that I honestly hope never comes back because it was just so broken and so strong. Next, this might be kind of a cop-out or kind of a cheap pick, but I'm just gonna go with all of the Chapter 2, Season 2 mythics besides the Kaboom Bow and Deadpool's hand cannons. Besides Deadpool's and TNTina's Kaboom Bow, I think the other mythics, those being Midas's drum gun, Sky's grappler and Scar, Brutus's minigun, and Meowscles' pew pew rifle, were all extremely strong and deserve a spot on this list. If I remember correctly, these were actually the first mythics to ever be introduced into Fortnite, and it's safe to say that they went a little bit overboard on them. They were so strong. I think particularly though, I think Midas's drum gun, especially the pre-nerf drum gun, was the strongest out of all of them. There is a debate to be had between Midas's drum gun and Brutus's minigun, but personally, I think the drum gun beats it out. It was just like a regular drum gun on absolute steroids. Fire rate insane, 25 damage a shot for an SMG, 50 headshot. Like, it was so easy to just 4-tap somebody with this weapon. Not a ton of bloom, and also let's remember this was a season where controller, where I play, controller aim assist was just, I mean, out of this world broken. If you know, you know. I think, again, you could go back and forth between Brutus's minigun, this one, Sky's grappler and Scar were also just absolutely broken in their own right, but if I had to pick one, I would say Midas's drum gun was the best mythic out of all of them. And again, some of these are just hard to explain. Like, it's just one of those things where if you were there in the moment using them, getting killed by them, you understand truly how strong they were. If you weren't, it might be a little hard to wrap your head around how strong these weapons were. But if you're a newer player, you know one of the strongest mythics of all time, you probably used it, that's Oscar's Frenzy Auto Shotgun. Obviously, this shotgun and the Frenzy as a whole have seen a couple of nerfs, but the launch Frenzy Auto Shotgun in its mythic rarity was probably the best shotgun of all time. I don't think it's crazy to say that. I think you could also probably make the same statement for the mythic primal shotgun as well. I really don't even know what to say about this thing. I mean, it was just that strong. You had a fully auto shotgun with, I believe it was 12 shells in a mag, and you could just dump them on somebody. It was unreal. Again, this is one of those weapons that doesn't really need an explanation. It was in the game so recently, and if I remember correctly, it still is in the game, but not in that current launch state. I mean, that thing was just unbelievable. There's no question about it, in my opinion, that the Oscar's mythic Frenzy Auto Shotgun is probably the best shotgun of all time, and I think a lot of people recognize that, which is why I don't think that this will be a surprise to most of you guys watching this video who use this or just got absolutely destroyed by it. And especially in zero builds, the Frenzy Auto really shined, and so I don't think there's going to be any disagreements about this. This is definitely one of the strongest mythics of all time. So yeah, guys, that concludes my list for some of Fortnite's strongest mythics of all time. If you'd like to see a part 2 to this video, let me know, because there are so many more overpowered mythics that I know I definitely missed. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Like, subscribe, comment, all that jazz, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.